going on, folks? What's going on? We back. We back in the building. It's the Smoke Breakdown Podcast. I'm your host, Eddie Frantic. And yeah, anyone who knows me knows that I'm a diehard Raptors fan. So every now and then, we're going to do a Raptors-centric podcast or a Raptors-centric episode. And yeah, today's the day. We're recording this before the Miami Heat game. So yeah, we're 20 games into the season, about a quarter of the way. So I think it's a good time to just take a step back and look at what this team is and what it can be. And yeah, so every now and then I'm going to be popping back in and talking about the Raptors because I love the Raptors. So where are we at after 20 games? The team is third in offense, fourth in defense. It's a really good team, best record in the NBA right now. And yeah, it's funny, like the last time I did a Raptors-centric podcast, it was called We the Non-Marketable. And well, you know, a couple episodes later and all of a sudden, it's pretty hard to ignore this team coming through with the best record after 20 games in franchise history. Again, best record in the league. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I'm pretty excited about the season, but I'll be honest, my expectations aren't really that high right now. And I'll tell you why. And it's, fear of the deer. Milwaukee looks really good. I'm actually pretty scared of Milwaukee right now. Giannis has so far been the best player in the conference. And yeah, they lost to Phoenix the other day, and that certainly tempers my feelings towards them. But nevertheless, they still look really good. They play really well. They have the best offense in the league. Giannis, again, is a freaking monster. And I think they match up pretty well with the Raptors, especially defensively. They really have the personnel, the length, and the athleticism to really hang with Toronto, at least on the defensive end. So yeah, I'm pretty scared of them. I think they have a very legitimate claim to be the best team in the East, even though the Raptors have the best record. I mean, how much more can be said about Pascal Siakam as well? He's really been a bona fide revelation for the team. But I guess where I stand on it is like, let's just see what happens in the playoffs, right? That's where I'm at. And maybe that's cynical or whatever, but we'll see how the season goes. I think as a player, he took the whole league by surprise. And I think as the season goes along, more and more teams and more coaches are going to have to ensure that they scout him out. And so a lot of the spin moves that he's getting may not be quite there later on the season. So we'll see how he adapts and how he progresses as a player. His 3-point shots coming along. But yeah, there's no question that him and Serge Ibaka especially have been godsends for the team, and just in terms of their elevation of their play from last season. So that's all pretty exciting. But let's get into it. We're going to do the breakdown a little bit later, but first we're going to have a new segment. It's called Word of the Day.
The word today is job.
The Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines schadenfreude as the enjoyment obtained from the trouble of others.
J-O-B. You hear me?
And to explain why this particular word is on my mind today, we have to go back to the evening of April 21st, 2015. It was a Tuesday, when I stood confused and dismayed in the middle of Jurassic Park, silently asking the basketball gods, how? How could we, the Raptors, lose 2 straight games at home to this particular team in the playoffs? Why did we just get dominated by this young, up-and-coming player named Otto Porter, who had just gone 6 for 8 from the field for 15 points and grabbed 9 rebounds, 4 of them offensive, and was a plus 17 in 35 minutes off the bench? Where was Terrence Ross? Were we really about to let Paul Pierce punk us yet again in the playoffs? Alas, the answer to that question would regrettably be absolutely. As days later, the Washington Wizards were able to complete the sweep and hand Toronto its most humiliating playoff series loss of all time. It was, to say the least, a humbling experience. But you know what I like to say? When you take an L, do your best to turn that L from a loss into a lesson. And the Toronto Raptors did just that, because since then, they've gone from relying on a starting lineup that somehow included the likes of Tyler Hansborough, to winning more playoff games than any other team in the league, and now sit atop the Eastern Conference with the best record in basketball, paced by arguably the best two-way player in the league, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, and Finals MVP Kawhi Leonard. And oh yeah, there's a point guard as well named Kyle Lowry, who is currently leading the league in assists. And by the way, on the other hand, since that fateful series, the Wizards still have yet to win 50 games, and their greatest playoff achievement, arguably, was when John Wall hit a pull-up three to win Game 6 in a series they obviously went on to lose anyways against the Celtics in 2017. It's either that or it's the I-called game bank shot by Paul Pierce, who of course has since retired and now is clearly embarrassed to even be associated with the franchise. So there's that. But of course, even despite such an anemic resume, Washington players have always been comfortable running their mouth. They have on more than one occasion described getting eliminated from the playoffs by saying, quote, "Sometimes the better team doesn't win," unquote, and remarked in 2017 that the Cavs, the defending champions, didn't want to see them in the second round that year. Yeah, that was 2017, the year that the Cavs came one game away from sweeping the entire East. Yeah, that team didn't want to see them in the second round. Yeah, so here we are today, enjoying this beautiful, glorious weekend in which the Raptors quite comfortably dispatched the Washington Wizards, nearly beating them by 20 points, And we just get to bask in the life-giving energy, the glow that just emanates from the collapse of the Washington Wizards. Just feel that warmth on your skin. Do you feel that? Doesn't that feel nice? I'll be honest, ever since John Wall walked into the USA basketball minicamp looking like he just walked out of the Queen and Spadina McDonald's at 4 a.m, I had a feeling, just an inkling that it was going to be a great year. And we have not been disappointed. Ernie Grunfeld, the Wizards general manager, who for some reason still holds the position even after assembling a team with players that literally wanted to shoot each other, has waved the proverbial white flag, openly declaring that every single player on the current roster is available. Nobody is showing up to home games, and it's looking like they might not even make the playoffs. Feels good. Feels good. Schadenfreude, the enjoyment obtained from the trouble of others. I'll tell you what, as a Raptors fan, I'm into it. Let's go.
The word today is job.
We'll be right back with the breakdown. But first, I want to let you know about our website, afrodismal.com. Go check it out. We got our blog up there. Obviously, all our past episodes of the podcast. We got some music as well, and we got some videos. Feel free to check it out and follow us on social media at afrodismal on Twitter. And yeah, let us know what you think using the hashtag SBDpod.
Now it's time for a breakdown.
Earlier this week, an enterprising writer from the blog Raptors Rapture unleashed upon us a particular take that gave me a serious case of the scratching chin emoji. That's me scratching my chin right there. With the Raptors in the midst of their first losing streak of the season, Jeff Borsuk thought it wise to suggest that the team look to quote-unquote upgrade their roster by bringing in one Carmelo Anthony. Now, I want to be fair to Mr. Borsuk here by first outlining his argument as best I can. With a roster beset with injuries, the Raptors, according to Jeff, would do well to bring in Anthony for added depth as a swingman off the bench. It's not every day that you can land a player as accomplished as Carmelo is, scoring titles, all-star games, gold medals, you name it, for next to nothing. Apparently, he could be the answer to the Raptors' shooting woes. All right, so where do I begin here? Okay, so first off, I'm unsure as to why Toronto would need to look for scoring assistance when they already have a top 3 offense. Yes, at the time, the team was in the midst of a shooting slump, especially from 3, but I think that had more to do with injuries, which caused like a fluctuating roster. People were in and out, and that prevented the team from really getting any sort of rhythm. Pretty much, I kind of saw that problem as a temporary one that would fix itself as, players came back healthy. But listen, why are we acting as if OKC and Houston didn't bring in Anthony for essentially the same reason? Both the Thunder and the Rockets, especially the Rockets, sought Melo out essentially to be a scoring luxury for them. But while on those teams, Melo shot 40% from the field. He only shot 44% on 2-pointers. And this season, he's only shooting 33% from deep. props to Melo for working hard to change his game, becoming more of a stretch four. But it just doesn't make sense to, if you're concerned about scoring, why would you bring in someone who doesn't seem to be a good scorer anymore? To me, it just doesn't make any sense. Now, I will say that I'm curious to see what Melo would look like in a different role. You know, one where he's put in the low post a lot more. He's got a big body. He's always had good footwork. I'm just curious. I just wonder what that would look like if, you know, you ran him off some back screens or whatever. Or is that even possible? Is he even a player that can still move well off the ball, you know? Nevertheless, this gets to another problem with this take, and that is that there's just absolutely no way that Carmelo Anthony can play as a swingman in today's league. He's just too slow at this point. Honestly, he's actually more of a forward center nowadays than he is a combo forward, let alone a guard forward. In any case, if you bring him in, all you're really going to be doing is taking minutes away from really good two-way players in Siakam and OG especially. And let's be real, like both those players are going to better help you win games than Anthony would at this point. I agree that the swingman rotation right now has been a little suspect, but again, I just chalk that up to injuries. This may sound crazy even after the last season, but I'm going to say it. If Norman Powell can come back and play the way that he was playing at the beginning of this season, then that solves the problem entirely in my books. Just having him on the floor means that he's taken a lot of minutes that right now are going to the likes of CJ Miles and Lorenzo Brown. And that in and of itself, adds a lot of value. No shade to CJ Miles. I know he's got the GoDaddy curse right now, so that's a challenging situation for him. But let's be honest, I would rather have a Norman Powell who's playing well on the court than either CJ Miles or Lorenzo Brown. So yeah, I just think we got to be patient, wait for the team to get healthy, and let's see where the team's at that point. I think it's way too early to make panic moves. And again, we're top 5 in both offense and defense. We're really talking about first world problems at this point. Now, before I sign off here, notice that I didn't even look to mention the most obvious argument against signing Melo, and that is his defense. All this talk about his subpar shooting, but it's his lack of defensive ability that truly makes him unplayable. We've already seen how defensive liabilities get targeted in the playoffs. We've all replayed in our heads CJ Miles trying to guard Kevin Love. Why would we want to add to that equation? I just don't think that's how Masai Ujiri wants to build this team. And I don't think it meshes with his philosophy. And yeah, lastly, let's be real. Why would Masai Ujiri seek out a player he's already traded before? Scratching chin emoji for sure. This is all I'm saying. Scratching chin emoji. But yeah, that's it. That's our podcast for today. Hope you folks are enjoying the season as much as I am. And we'll be back next week. And until then, again, it's all about progress, not perfection. Let's go.